This is the Sabbath School lesson for the fourth quarter, 2021.
Lesson 13 from our series Present Truth in Deuteronomy is titled The Resurrection of Moses, ready for teaching on December 25, and I'm Percy Harrold. Friday, December 24. From the book Patriarchs and Prophets, page 418, written by Ellen G. White, we read, "When they angrily cried, 'Must we fetch you water out of this rock?' they put themselves in God's place, as though the power lay with themselves, men possessing human frailties and passions." Wearied with the continual murmuring and rebellion of the people, Moses had lost sight of his almighty helper, and without the divine strength, he had been left to mar his record by an exhibition of human weakness. The man who might have stood pure, firm, and unselfish to the close of his work had been overcome at last. God had been dishonoured before the congregation of Israel, when he should have been magnified and exalted. End of quote. And from the same book, page 479. Upon the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses was present with Elijah, who had been translated. They were sent as bearers of light and glory from the Father to his Son, and thus the prayer of Moses, uttered so many centuries before, was at last fulfilled. He stood upon the goodly mountain, within the heritage of his people, bearing witness to him in whom all the promises of Israel centred. Such is the last scene revealed to mortal vision in the history of that man, so highly honoured of heaven. End of quote. And that brings us to our 4 discussion questions for this week. 1. In one sense, yes, Moses was resurrected and brought to heaven shortly after his death. But at the same time, poor Moses, we assume, gets to witness the terrible mess of things down here. How fortunate that most of us will be resurrected after all the struggle on earth is over, at the second coming. In what ways is this then a greater blessing than what Moses experienced? 2. How does the story of Moses' death and later resurrection show us how the New Testament, though often based on the Old Testament, does take us further than the Old Testament and can indeed shed much new light upon it? 3. How is the story of Moses' life, including smiting the rock in a fit of anger, an example of what it means to live by faith and to be saved by faith, apart from the deeds of the law? 4. In class, talk about the promise of the resurrection at the end of time. Why is this so central to all our hopes? Also, if we can trust God on this, that is, on raising us from death, shouldn't we be able to trust him for everything else? After all, if he can do that for us, what can't he do? And so concludes the 1230th lesson I've read for the blind over the past 25 years since 1996. And number 726 that have been put to the internet as a podcast since 2007. I trust that you are enjoying this service and that God will continue to bless you and that I'll be able to continue with this service in the future. May God bless you, and may the coming year be one where God will be the centre of your life, and that the salvation that Jesus offers and the friendship he offers will be yours. Inside Story. Our mission story this week is titled Teen Makes Christmas Music, and it's by Andrew McChesney. Every year, Miharu Shimizu's church organizes a special Christmas program in Tokyo, Japan. Every year, Miharu wished that she could participate and somehow share her joy about Christ's birth. One fall, during her first year in university, a teacher asked her to write the lyrics for a musical. The musical turned out to be the final exam for all 30 students in her class. Miharu was supposed to write the script and lyrics, while the teacher would compose the music. Then the class would be divided into 4 groups, and each group would learn and sing the musical. After some prayer, Miharu put together a short story about Christmas caroling. The songs were filled with praise for Jesus at Christmas. She wasn't sure what the teacher or classmates would think. None of them were Christian. When Miharu submitted the 8-minute musical, the teacher didn't change a single word. "The lyrics are very noble," he said. As the class learned and rehearsed the musical, Miharu remembered the Christmas program at church. Maybe her musical could be her contribution to the Christmas program. That Christmas she played the piano as 7 classmates performed her musical at x𝐃𝐿𝐒 Seventh-day Adventist Church, a church for young people in Tokyo. Young Adventists assisted the production behind the scenes. More people showed up to watch the musical than Miharu had expected. About 75 people crowded into the small church building, overflowing a space where usually only 25 church members worshipped on Sabbaths. Miharu was delighted. She sensed a bond with the audience. She saw that she and they were sharing the true spirit of Christmas, the joy that Jesus loves people so much that he came to the earth as a baby. Miharu was especially happy that one of her classmates was sitting in the audience. Afterward, the classmate asked for Bible studies. Miharu decided to compose another musical for the next Christmas. She wrote a musical about how her grandfather became a Seventh-day Adventist. Finding classmates to participate in the new musical proved easy. They liked the previous Christmas musical and were eager to sing again. One of the new participants was the classmate taking Bible studies. Miharu, 19, is praying that Jesus will use her musical talents to draw classmates to him. And there's a beautiful photograph of Miharu just to the left here. Thank you for your 13th Sabbath offering 3 years ago that helped Miharu's x𝐃𝐿𝐒 Church establish a youth evangelism training centre. Part of this quarter's 13th Sabbath offering will reach out to more Japanese young people through online ministry. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind, and It Is Written. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. Remember, God is always faithful.